It's KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome to the MARC KAPETAN Show. This is attorney MARC KAPETAN, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, 9 to 5, Monday through Fridays. But you could try calling on the weekends too. 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we're the Valley's law firm. Hey, today's show is sponsored by Sherlock Realty. Sherlock Realty, if you are searching for a new home and you need a clue, turn to my friend Victoria Sherlock at Sherlock Realty. She's like the Sherlock Holmes of real estate, a super sleuth for finding your next home. Victoria is certainly a pro when it comes to finding you the best value for your dollar. It's not something we always think of when we're buying a home, but if you want the right home at the right price, call Victoria. If you're looking to sell your home at the right price, call Victoria at Sherlock Realty. Call 559-289-4669. That's 559-289-4669. Sherlock Realty, the clue to finding your next home. You know, folks, we've had our share of culinary experts on the show, likely a result of the fact that eating delicious meals is a glorious experience for me. Like my brother Peter says, a good meal can be better than sex, and that's either a comment on his wife's cooking or his lack of prowess in the bedroom. So during the next 8 weeks, we'll all be gathering with our family and friends for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, other holiday meals. If you've had a grandmother and a mother like mine, I don't know about you, Chris, but if you had a grandmother or a mother like mine, those meals would have been fit for a king's palate and plentiful enough for a king's army. So I thought it'd be a great time to have in the studio a Valley chef who's renowned by his peers in the culinary world and the restaurant business. Upon inquiry from Mike Sherinian himself, he called my next guest the real deal as a chef and a legit player in the business. And his restaurant in Old Town Clovis, Trelio's, is the toast of the town. So I'd like to welcome to the MARC KAPETAN Show from Trelio's Bistro in Clovis, Chef Chris Shackelford. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Is it still bistro?
It's food and wine.
Food and wine?
Yeah. We made that change about 10 years ago.
Yeah, you made a really significant change. You've had the restaurant for how long now?
Going on 18 years.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah. 18 years. You know, I knew the original owner, Leo.
Yeah.
So Leo and did you know Leo and work for him at all?
No, I was at the Elderberry House during that time. Yeah.
Did you know him at all? I
met him like once or twice, I believe. Prior.
Yeah. Poor Leo died long before his time, and you know, may his memory be eternal, as us Greeks say. He was a Greek guy, and his brothers and he were in the 70s the cool guys in church. They had this long hair and, you know, platform shoes and bell-bottom jeans and all that kind of stuff. So I always remember him fondly. Yeah. You took it over as, is it just the dream of every restaurant guy? They want to take over and own their own restaurant, or had you owned restaurants before that?
No, this was my first. It was a long period of trying to get out from working for other people, but I was still really young. I bought it when I was 30 years old. So I had just come off a couple jobs that kind of made me feel more like I needed to work for myself rather than other people. And I was, you know, locally working at the Elderberry House, Chateau de Sereau up in Oakhurst, and I had pretty much, I don't know what, the job position changed as much as, you know, the days did. So I was pretty much some sort of general manager some days, chef another day, just depended on what positions were open.
And was that because it was still a small operation, or just management issues?
Yeah, it's tiny operation, people coming in, going, and the need to kind of fill in gaps as kind of the, you know, pretty much the manager of the restaurant. I had to fill in gaps where it needed to be.
Was it that experience, or your experience with that and some of the other places, luxury resorts and stuff that you've done, where it's, you know, we see it on TV. Can it really be that rough and tumble of a thing to be in the kitchen to where you sit there and you say, geez, I got to get out and I got to do this myself because I can't be working under anybody else anymore?
It got to that point with me because of the types of places I was working for. I was working for either big Ritz-Carlton type resorts or tiny, super high-end boutiques like, the Chateau de Sirop and San Ysidro Ranch and stuff like that. So I had been at the top of the industry for going on like 15 years working in upper management and those types of things, both front of the house and the back of the house. For me, it just got to the point where I needed to retire from that.
Yeah.
It was so much work. It was 18, 19-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. And I thought that by opening my own restaurant, I could
have more time to yourself.
I would have more time to myself. And yes and no. I could now make my own schedule. I could say I'm not going to do something on that day or whatnot. I'm closed for all holidays now. Before it was every holiday was a 24-hour shift. Now it's like I'm off for 24 hours.
It's funny. I have two friends. One who's an attorney who took over a practice from a partner, and another one who's started a trucking operation after being in logistics. And he says, I work just as much, but those times that I want to take off, I choose myself. And he goes, I'm more nervous than ever as far as being stressed out about work and making money, but I'm yet so much more relaxed because I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. You're financially responsible for yourself in every way. Whether you
live or die, whether you fail or succeed.
The worst part is also you're also financially responsible for everybody that works for you also. So
that's got to be the rough part.
That's the rough part.
Yeah. And so that brings us back to what you had first said in the beginning is at some point in those 17 years, about 10 years ago, you just decided to make a drastic change.
Yeah.
Which was?
First was for me was to really learn the industry. And then being a consultant in the business, since I even started my own restaurant, I've been a consultant the entire time. It became more and more and more difficult to run a restaurant. And it always has been, and it's continually getting harder. So a bulk of my time now is spent just researching. And
you're talking governmental finger on everything.
That's a tiny percentage of it, but it's just rising costs. Just trying to make numbers work in the industry is extremely difficult when it's always a moving target. And it's constantly moving.
And we were talking before the show, the moving target has now doubled itself in about a 4 or 5 year period of time.
It's actually, after research, it's lovely that there's the internet and you can go back, and my research nowadays is looking at every level of restaurant and looking at their Yelp pages and looking at the pictures of their menus with the same menu items with different pricing.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's a 2-year doubling right now. So so we have to look at the lower end, your under $10, meal restaurants, and those have doubled in the last 2 years.
You sort of saw that coming on, or at least
yes.
So you already got my question there. You listen, everybody was doing fusion, high end, this and the other thing. We live in Fresno and in Clovis, and we don't have the most sophisticated palate, although year after year it becomes more and more sophisticated. But also, we don't have the deep pockets that some of these big cities do.
Yeah.
And you sort of saw that early on, regardless of the new economy crunch, and you said, I'm going to do more of a, family or family style meal?
No, we do a prefix now, but we've, as Trelio, we've gone through, 2008, 2009, and that was a big deal. I had another restaurant in town that we actually had to close during 2009.
Which was what?
A place called Veneto, which was over on the Fig Garden Loop. We only had it for a year because we came in at the wrong time. But we have always, every 2 or 3 years, had to change the restaurant, either in cuisine or pricing or whatever, to work with what the economy and what our current restaurant culture is. And currently what we decided to do was in the last year, because we knew that we couldn't make enough money off of selling individual dishes, we have gone to a prefix menu, which allows us to have a per seat cost versus a per order cost.
Oh, I've never thought of that. So price fix or prefix would basically, you get your salad, your main course, your dessert, and it's all for one price. And I never thought of it. It narrows everything down to a seat cost now instead of a food cost. That's great. We're going to be right back with Chris Shackelford. He's from Trelio restaurant out there in Clovis. Like I said, the toast of the town, finest restaurant in Clovis. I'll tell you that. We'll be right back after this. This is MARC KAPETAN Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJnow.com or wherever you stream. Right, Marcella? Did I say that right, Marcella? Yes, she says. Thank you, Marcella. Hey, folks, listen, I'm going to pop this music down like I like to do on the second segment. You guys know the Kapetan brothers, right? My brother and I have been practicing for over 30 years each. I think Peter's now up to probably 37, 8 years, somewhere around there. I've been up to about 32 years now. If you have had a accident, or if you have a friend, listen, if you got a friend or family member that has had some sort of catastrophic injury or accident, we've had multi-million-dollar awards. We are real deal attorneys. Peter, my brother Peter, is one of the greatest attorneys in the Valley, if not in California. He's an excellent attorney. And whether it's he or myself, we will represent you in a honest way. We'll give you all the information you need. You've known me all these years on the radio, but we are real attorneys and we'll certainly help you out. So call the Kapetan brothers if you're in need of an attorney or if you have a friend who's in need of an attorney. Kapetan brothers, 559-498-8000. We are back on with Chris Shackelford. He is the executive chef. Is that the term that I call you?
Executive chef.
Owner and executive chef of Trelio's restaurant, out there in Clovis, California. Wonderful. I took my nephews to Clovis one time for a meal, and we got pulled over by the Clovis Police Department, and they said, "We're never going to Clovis again." And I was like, "No, guys, listen, I had didn't have my seatbelt on in a timely manner. Let's put it that way." So, listen, you were talking before the break about the change that you made. Here's a quote from you: "We slowly migrated from being a French Laundry of the Central Valley to being more of a farm-to-table restaurant and comprehensive dining options in a European style. That being said, we also enjoy the ties to the regional cuisine of America and the Valley." The whole price fix menu, there was a sudden change about 10 years ago, and I was talking earlier, not only with you, but with the food industry and the culinary world itself, where I noticed people started... And I don't know, and the question is going to be, is this part of your impetus also for changing? It changed from this, let's try to come up with the newest fusion of mixing a mango with a slice of pork or something like that. Yeah. And let's just go back to traditional things. You would see a plate of meat and potato and carrot with some beautiful broth ladled over it. And was that also sort of the trend that you were going for?
I would say yes, and I'd say no. First, things are cyclical. We create new techniques, new things all the time. You take Jell-O in the turn of the century, and it turned into its own cuisine.
Yeah, right.
The same thing. When people get bored of food, they start experimenting, and we get things like molecular gastronomy, or we're combining California cuisine and Italian, and we have Wolfgang Puck. We have these things that are created out of a boredom, either in the kitchen or by the guest. So for us, it became more of a cost of operation. We were going out of business the first 3 years that we were open, trying to force feed a cuisine that wasn't going to work here.
Right.
We were doing it out of an ego thing, or out of our past and how we were working prior to that. And then, we were realizing this isn't going to work here for another 10, 15 years. So we stopped and we kind of went backwards. We figured out what people were really spending money on, and we kind of mimicked that at a new creative way, but kind of capitalizing on something that we understood by being creative, but also something that was working as far as a base cuisine in Fresno at the time. It wasn't per se farm to table, but it was a familiarity to the dishes.
And it's not a meat and potatoes thing, but to use that terminology, it had a meat and potatoes aspect to the sense of saying, this is what people understand, this is what people know, this is what people here in the Valley accept.
Exactly. And I think that's changing very rapidly at this point, where there's more acceptance towards what we were doing, 17 years ago, because of our influx of people from LA and San Francisco.
Can a molecular gastronomy type restaurant work in the Valley?
It didn't 17 years ago.
and that was who, you?
That's us. Yeah, we were.
Were you guys getting that heavy? Really?
Oh yeah, we were pretty heavy at the time. I mean, we still use a lot of those techniques in our food, but they're extremely hidden. So it's interesting because I didn't think about this until you mentioned it. I've always, people say they see the catwalks with the models and the latest designers, et cetera, and they go, well, who's going to wear a triangle on top of their head that's orange, et cetera, until you finally learn that's exactly what you've explained in a very succinct way that I've always sort of known, but the way you said it is boredom made them create something completely outrageous, but it is the seed that is planted that may bring that color out for that season, or may change a trend or create a new style altogether. The way it fits.
The way it fits, yeah. And so you tone it down, you keep it in your recipes. What's one of those things that you still use?
Xanthan gum. I mean, xanthan's something that's in there. It's used a lot in gluten-free cooking, but we'll use it to emulsify a sauce, make sure hollandaise doesn't break or some sauce doesn't break, thicken things. I mean,
is that a seaweed agar basically?
It's a soy derivative. Yeah. Agar's a seaweed, and then there's things like sodium citrates and and alginates and stuff like that for thickening and creating spheres and stuff like that, which we don't do.
What's like the dish at your place now?
Right now, it's going to be between a couple different things. We are generally known for very, very expensive ingredients. So using Coda Wagyu beef, which is really cool because it's utilizing the dairy industry to breed cattle instead of a open breeding thing. So it draws the price down, but it also keeps the dairy animals producing. So they're breeding Wagyu in dairy cattle by artificial insemination, and then raising that as the food stuff, but while they're milking cows.
And it keeps up the production of milk for the... Oh, no
So
kidding.
it's actually from California, so it's a local ingredient that we love using, and the quality that we have experienced with it is beyond all Wagyu in America, because most all Wagyu in America is bred with a Black Angus in some sort of way. This is 100% pure. So it's a very different product. It's generally expensive, but it's not that expensive if you're a prefix menu and you're doing 4 or 5 ounces worth of meat.
Oh, I see. So and I understand with that kind of meat, that's basically all you want, because it can't be very heavy and rich,
it's very
right?
heavy, exactly.
You also decided to do basically smaller plates.
It's not smaller. It's just the dinners, the way we do it, it's a 3 or 5 course menu. So everything's sized to that amount of meal. So we're not going to put a 14-ounce steak on the plate after you just had a pasta dish and a soup or salad. It also bread, and we do the traditional where it is 3 courses, but there's other little things that arrive in between the courses, so it's not really 3 courses. It could be 5 courses.
Little amuse-bouches, as they say, right?
Yeah, mignardises, amuse-bouche, palate cleansers, things like that within the meal, so that it is more of an experience. And we're not selling individual dishes anymore. We're selling a period of time sitting at a table. Now,
does it make it do you work back in the kitchen still?
I work everywhere, yeah.
Okay, does it make it easier for you to have this price fixed type menu?
No, it's extremely stressful in the kitchen. Imagine doing 80 covers, and before those 80 covers were doing 1 or 2 courses. Now they're doing 5 courses, 6, 7 courses. So there's a lot more action in the kitchen, it's caused me to actually, increase the size of the kitchen,
Really?
and a lot more training in the front of the house to actually, make these things happen in a timely fashion.
Yeah, you would think that because everything. I'm assuming you only have a certain number of price fix menu selections.
Yeah, we have, within the 3 or 5 courses, there's about 4 different options for each course.
Yeah, you think it'd make it easier, but
it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, we'll be right back with Chris Shackelford from Trelio's restaurant in Clovis. We'll be right back after this. What'd you call it? Trelio's?
Trelio. Yeah, Trelio Food and Wine.
Food and Wine. Trelio's Food and Wine. Can't forget the wine. This is MARC KAPETAN Show on KMJ. It's KMJ at KMJnow.com or wherever you stream, even streaming on the jet stream, right? I was going to say that. Streaming on the jet stream, the old radio waves flowing through the air. Hey, folks, you know the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. Do yourself a favor. If you've been in an accident or been cited or arrested for a criminal offense, who do you call, Marcella?
The Kapetan Brothers.
The Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. She knows it. Yep, she knows it. She lives it every day. Right? Hey, listen, Trelio's. We have Chris Shackelford, the head of Trelio's, the owner of Trelio's, the executive chef of Trelio's, here on with us today. Great chef. Trelio's. Where do we make a reservation for Trelio's? Do you know?
Online. We are a no phone restaurant.
No phone. Oh shoot. Hey, so the phone number that you gave me, Marcella. Well, forget that phone number.
You can call it. No one's going to answer.
I'm glad I asked because I actually was going to just read it off. All right, go to Trelio's. It's Trelios. Apostrophe S. Yeah. Which was Leo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
My the old Greek buddy of ours. And who was the other guy? Trey.
Tressa.
Tressa.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. Anyway, great restaurant in Clovis. We're talking all about the restaurant business. Hey, thanks to our sponsor, Sherlock Realty. If you're looking for a new home or wanting to sell your current home, call my friend Victoria Sherlock at 559-289-4669. They are for the 3rd year in a row now, Marcella, CV Lux Magazine has awarded them the top realtor here in the Valley. So 289-4669, Sherlock Realty, the clue to finding your next home. If you're looking for a great concert, go online at AmericanMadeConcerts.com, another one of our sponsors. American Made Concerts for all your rock and roll concert needs. All right, Chris Shackelford from Trelio's restaurant. Were you one of these kids? Listen, my mother and my grandmother, my yaya as we call it in Greek, they were great cooks. And it was always a pinch of this, a handful of this. It was never by any type of recipe. Did you have that growing up in Eureka, California? I understand you're from.
Yeah, I was born in Eureka. Grew up in San Ynez, California, just right down the street.
Beautiful. Yeah.
My grandma was definitely that grandma. She made wedding cakes for a while, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was definitely into it, but she was a great cook also. And my grandfather was a mechanic for Sunkist, so we always had lots of trees and fruit and everything everywhere we went. So it was always and I kind of grew up on this weird 1-acre farm that my dad thought he could feed the whole family on.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Like a hippie type thing, or like just an old world guy?
Hippie without the drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man. Good. That's a good upbringing right there, buddy.
Yeah.
What was his background?
He was a Forest Service, a range manager for the Forest Service in Santa Barbara County. Yeah.
And so, like, grandma's making food, and does she pure American, or was she from somewhere else?
No, she's American, Arizona background, but no, she was just one of those people that when it came holiday, the pies were out and all that.
There
was never room on the table for us to eat. Let's just put it that way. Everything else was food. It was like, where are we supposed to sit, Grandma?
That's great. My grandmother was Greek. She would make Greek pasta, Italian pasta with meatballs and stuff, clam soup, another type of soup, a turkey, a ham, a bubble. If you had the holidays things.
Yeah, everything.
So mom was the cook also?
No.
Yeah, dad?
No.
Always grandma.
Grandma. I mean, my parents worked quite a bit, so our upbringing was more that fast, what can be made really fast at dinner, the night. I think that was the reason why me and my brother kind of gravitated towards being cooks, was that we didn't, they did as well as they could, but they were working late, and a lot of our food was that crock pot, quick type of meals. So when we would eat out and eat food like at restaurants, it was like this different thing. And I remember the first time it really clicked for me working in a certain restaurant that like, this is, if I could make this, then everyone would be happy, because I thought everybody ate like I did. So I thought everybody wasn't that into food, but I wouldn't eat a vegetable. I wouldn't eat anything. And then all of a sudden, I wouldn't touch anything. And then all of a sudden eating this one meal.
What was the meal? Tell me where it was, and do you remember what it was?
I vaguely remember it being Italian, and it had mushrooms in it, and I had never really had mushrooms.
Like a marsala type thing?
Something like that, but I can't per se put 100% on it. But I just remember eating the dish going, okay, now I know what food tastes like. And,
really?
Yeah. And that was
and it
like
opened
beginning.
up a world to you, basically.
Yeah, it did. I had been cooking, but I hadn't been cooking at a level yet. And I think just that one instance, all of a sudden, I wanted to make sure that everything I ever made for anybody to eat had to be the best version of whatever I just made that they had ever had in their life.
So I mean, it made such an impression. It's weird how, like for me being a guitar player or something like that, there was one moment, and I won't get into it, but it's weird that there was a moment in time where food gave you so much joy that you said, this is what I want to do, but it's got to be this good for anybody that I cook for.
Yeah, and that kind of became the whole restaurant for me. It was that experience wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the restaurant, for the waiter, for the the design, the feeling that you had in the restaurant. All those things made a lot of the details of whatever I was eating more important, more things. And that's kind of the reason why I actually ended up doing everything in a restaurant my entire career and not doing one thing.
I'll tell you, Dave, I don't know if he was ever behind there as a cook, but Dave Hansler took a buddy to one of his restaurants, and he goes, the impressive thing is not only the decor and the food and all that, he goes, but the wait staff. He goes, and it drives me insane that you can have a great restaurant and have horrible wait staff. And it's not their fault. No. It's you have to be interactive with everything when it comes to that restaurant. Yeah.
I mean, to be an owner of a restaurant nowadays, it's hands-on. There is no hands-off restaurants anymore. I get a lot of requests to consult for hands-off restaurants, and the first thing is somebody actually has to fix it. I just can't fix it for you.
Let me ask, is it, and I don't mean this in any bad way, is it worth the money that you make in that sense? Is it, because it has got to be one of the hardest occupations there is to run a restaurant. Yes. The chances of failure. When I bought a property, someone goes, don't lease to a restaurant because they'll be gone in 3 years. The chances of failure are high.
Yes.
There's not a lot of reward because you're usually in the back sweating in the kitchen, unless you're one of these guys who just walks out and makes himself known. But I mean, is that one restaurant, and the failure is always to open up a second restaurant sometimes, right? And you sort of experienced that.
Yep.
Is it a good life?
The life is great. The money is not. The business itself is probably the highest startup cost of any business.
Yeah.
For per square foot, it is the most labor intensive business that there is. There is no time. You have to do everything within seconds. Otherwise, somebody doesn't eat. So there's a lot of issues with owning a restaurant. But the worst part is you're still only working for 3-4% profit margin.
Right.
And that's the reason why a lot of people start to open more and more and more businesses, is that the profit margin is so low, and then they get spread really thin, and then everything falls apart.
But you're content. It makes you happy, and it's the love of it that you do it for.
Yeah, I make my money other ways.
And that is what?
Mostly consulting for people that are not doing well in the restaurant business.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like those TV shows that you watch where they come in and they just say, I mean, do you sit there as a patron? Do you sit there as an undercover patron? How do you do that?
No, I'm more of a hands-on. Let's look at the books. Let's look at what's going on. Let's look at your training. Let's look at, what are your standards and procedures? What's your food cost? Everything. Yeah. Most restaurants, there's a reason why they're not breaking even.
Yeah, I found that even just cutting your own meat instead of buying steaks already pre-cut, and just simple stuff like that, right?
Save you a lot. Yeah.
Should every chef be a manager and every manager be a chef?
Every chef has to be a manager first. Otherwise, you're going out of business if you're hiring a chef that isn't a manager. But you can get away with a lot of mediocrity in the restaurant business. Yeah. Everyone is looking for a price point. As long as you're pricing your product for what the price point should be, generally you're going to be okay.
Right.
But if you're charging way too much money for a mediocre product, then your chances of survival are probably zero.
Wife Amy works. You have a wife Amy and two kids, right?
Yep,
do they work there?
No, my wife does. My wife does the plants, but she also makes all of our plates. She's a ceramicist, so she makes all the plates for the restaurant.
Oh, that's special.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She used to be a pastry chef, but that took a toll because it's just so much work. And then now she's just makes all the plates for it. My daughter works Sunday brunch as a busgirl, and
you got her from the ground. You got to start from the ground floor like
she's
that, right?
She's got to go to college. She has to pay her way through.
Oh, good for you. What a good dad. All right, we're going to be right back with Chris Shackelford from Trelio's. Say it again.
Trelio Food and Wine.
Food and Wine. Trelio's Food and Wine. Get all the food and wine you need there. Yeah. Great food. All right, we'll be right back after this. This is the MARC KAPETAN Show on KMJ. It's KMJ at KMJnow.com or wherever you stream. Sorry, I got to stop that. Folks, hey, listen. We are on with Chris Shackelford from Trelio's Food and Wine. I got that right, man? Yep, perfect. Yeah, I got it. Hey, Kapetan Brothers, if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, or if you've been injured in an auto accident, truck accident, or motorcycle accident, please call the Kapetan Brothers at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we are the Valley's law firm. Let's get right back to our guest, Chris Shackelford from Trelio's Food and Wine Restaurant in Clovis, California. The big city, God's country, as my grandmother would say. Clovis, California. Wait, was that a risk for you to do Clovis? I mean, did you sit there and think?
I'll be totally honest. Yeah. When we bought the restaurant, I'd probably been in Clovis once.
Really?
Really. I saw like a movie being filmed on Pulaski once, and then we saw the restaurant for sale in the Fresno B because we were looking to buy a restaurant. Yeah. We were looking in LA and San Francisco, but whenever it popped in, it was like fine dining restaurant for sale. Let's go look at it. Second time I ever went to Clovis.
I'll tell you, you know what? You're probably lucky because LA and San Francisco probably would have crushed you. And not because of your talent. Just
it would have.
Why?
Well, we couldn't find anything. We couldn't find anything affordable to do down there, anyways. So it didn't matter.
That was part of the equation, right?
Yeah, for anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I like I said, I've even noticed the palate of Fresno. I'm not saying I had a great palate, but I had been around enough of the world and stuff like that it really was elevated by young guys, and I don't know how young you are, but young people coming in, trying stuff, putting up literally just a piece of art on the wall that they had just painted and saying, we're going to call this a restaurant. And they really tried, and it's really helped out a lot.
Yeah.
All right, what's a sommelier? I mean, I know what a sommelier is. You guys, you are a sommelier. Mm-hmm. You worked in some of the finest luxury resorts around the world, or around the U.S. Yeah. How do we utilize that? Do you still practice that at the restaurant?
Oh, I practice every day. Okay. I'm most known as a sommelier in the state of California because I run a lot of big events like World of Pinot and Hospice Cerrone and stuff like that. But basically a sommelier in a restaurant, and everybody that works for me has to be a sommelier.
Really?
Has to be. There's nobody on my floor. You will not see somebody other than my young daughter on the floor of the restaurant without being a sommelier.
And what kind of training goes into that? Is there actually some sort of certification?
There's certification. Yeah, there's many different avenues for doing it, but we require something called the Court of Master Sommeliers, which is a organization that not per se trains. There's aspects of it that do training, but it is more of a testing curriculum that goes from being an introductory sommelier to a certified sommelier to an advanced sommelier to what is considered the most difficult test in the entire world a master sommelier.
Really?
It is considered by far.
And why? Because you have to refine your palate that much that you have to...
Well, 1 to 2 people pass a year,
No.
and there's about 110 in the world right now.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it is literally the most difficult. I have several friends. I was part of the process for a long time. I failed way too many times, so
Yeah.
I just said, stop spending money on this. And so, yeah, it is one of those things. It is there for the customer. It is the training that is required in order to run a wine list like ours. I can't put people on the floor with a 1,000 label wine list that is from all over the world at the price that wine is, without really training a staff. And that's one of the tools we use.
Okay, so to not be intimidated, last time I think I was in, what's the oyster house, I think in Monterey, is that what it's called?
Oyster Loft?
No, darn
in
it.
Monterey.
Anyway, the famous restaurant that's there. Anyway,
okay.
So last time I was there, you get intimidated. I know, I'm trying to think of it too. Forget about it. We only got so much time. We're going to sit and think while the listeners are listening. Yeah. You get intimidated. What am I supposed to ask for, and what are you supposed to do? Pick the wine that you think is best, or pick the wine that the person could maybe handle?
No, we're looking to get clues from the person as to what they'd like to enjoy. First and foremost. I mean, that if anything, what we want to do is put a bottle of wine down on a table or a glass of wine on the table that person wants to drink, regardless of what,
the
food is, the rules or anything. First and foremost, is this what somebody wants to drink? And then thereafter, if that person's willing to have a small conversation, tailoring it to what they're about to eat.
I see.
So, yeah.
Do those rules still apply? White with chicken, red with meats, and all that kind of stuff?
Fundamentally, yes. But does it overall work? Yeah. I mean, it's great rules to stick with, but there's a lot of ins and outs of that too.
All right. I love asking this question to just people in general, but especially, chefs and stuff. I'll tell you, mine was one of mine. Best meals. The Zoomfigure restaurant in Aschaffenburg, Germany. I had the wild boar and the venison. Okay, it's a completely snooty thing to say, but it was not just the food; it was the atmosphere, it was the people, etc. You named your first meal that made you become a chef, but what was that one meal that you sit there and say, either God, I need to try this, God, I wish I could do this, or this is what it's all about, having that experience from some other chef?
Wow. That's a difficult one. I've had so many good meals in my life that it's insane.
By the way, you tried 10 different restaurants sometimes a week?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Like this week, where me and my wife are going down, and we're going to be eating in Bar La Côte, Bettina, a place called Aviary. Like, we go to every top restaurant everywhere we're going. And since I'm consulting all over the place, I get a lot of opportunities to be in all sorts of places. But yeah, we take every opportunity to eat in every restaurant. I'm going to say I don't know of a single. I remember the first time I ate certain things, like the best pizza place in California, is a place called Bettina in Montecito.
Write that down, Marcel.
I remember the first time I had, and a friend said, "No, you have to go there." And I remember having it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's greatest pizza!" And then no more than a year later, it's a bib in Michelin, which pizza places do not get bibs in Michelin.
Yeah.
But I remember that. I remember, there's all these places that I've gone. I think I went out with, Mike Osegueda, me and my brother did once when we first came into town, and we went to La Elegante and had the Adobada tacos.
Hey.
I mean, to me, that was the greatest Adobada taco I had to this point.
So I've been going there for 35 years, or 33. I think the owner started about 32, 33 years. So the young guy who took over, who's now, our age.
Yeah.
But I've told for 30 years, best taco, the Adobada tacos
at La Elegante is the best taco. I think in Fresno, still to this day, a lot of people would probably fight me on that one. But I remember going to about 12 places in a weekend with Mike Osegueda, and it was like that was the one thing that hit my mind. Yeah. I think my brother too at that point in time.
He's got to be a kick to hang out with.
Oh, Michael. He was a great guy. Yeah. I haven't seen him forever.
Brother's a chef also?
Yeah, my brother's a chef too. Yeah.
Where's he?
He's in Idaho. He works for retirement homes now because restaurants don't pay enough. He's a corporate executive chef, so he works for a big
in the retirement homes.
Yeah,
Did you tease him for giving up on the dream?
No. No, those people. I mean, imagine becoming old and going into a retirement home, and all of a sudden the food blanket being torn out. I'm happy that he does what he does. He's doing good work for.
Still doing the pop-up restaurants?
I still do it every once in a while. Yeah.
Anyone coming up?
Maybe. I'm not sure yet.
Any lessons or anything like that?
We always have wine lessons at the restaurant. I have a sommelier that teaches wine lessons, and then we always have like the crazy dinners that we always do.
Dude, I'm coming over. I'm bringing my little nephew Dimitri, who's now working for Gallo.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna refine that kid's palate. Okay, awesome. No more Champipple for you, man. All right, this has been Chris Shackelford from Trelio's Food and Wine Restaurant out there in Clovis, California. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, stay tuned for some more restaurant tours after this. Mike Sherinian and Dave Fansler. Well, hey, thanks to Marcella Taylor for my producer of this show, and we'll see you next week on the MARC KAPETAN Show. This is KMJ.